a brand new dawning as the passion starter.
Welcome back, viewers. I am Natalie Sealy-Richardson, and thank you for staying with us. Good morning, Tobago. It is Friday, and of course, we have a couple of interesting guests with us this morning, and we start off our conversation with two gentlemen, Atiba Martin, Manager of Engineering and Design, and Kino Sammy, Project Manager. And you may be wondering what we are going to talk about this morning, so you have to stay tuned. And this you need to listen to. This will impact all of us, and it is relevant information. So, gentlemen, good morning, and welcome to GMT.
Good morning.
All right, so right off the bat, I want you to share with us more information about this project. You know, just give us the general idea where it is and overview of what we're heading into.
Okay, well, Natalie, the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development is embarking on a project to widen the road at the Carnbee gas station area.
Right.
Right. The objective of the division is to improve the traffic flow along the Orkinscure Bay Road. Right? There's a critical 600 meters of roadway that, you know, during peak hours we get a lot of traffic congestion and unsafe maneuvers by vehicles.
Right.
And the division is trying to address that issue with this project.
And we're looking, that's the stretch where the Carnbee gas station is.
Correct.
Right? And we know for those of us who may use that area, even the traffic, you know, using the gas station, often the dual cart, it turns into a one-way sometimes. And as you mentioned, you know, the unsafe maneuvers we sometimes have to make. Why, and of course you would have hinted at it, there is an issue there, but I also want to know what are some of the other challenges that may exist in that area.
Well, good morning again to Natalie and your viewers. The challenges in that area are basically twofold. Mm-hmm. The first challenge is there's a limited space for cars to maneuver. Now, when you enter in the gas station, you use the lane that you normally proceed going towards the roundabout.
Yes.
So if you're not going to the gas station, you would be forced to veer off, and because of limited space, you enter the other opposing lane. So therefore, you create a conflict.
Yes.
Right. So that's the first problem, one of space. The other problem is the problem of how the management of the traffic along that section. You know, there's some vending in the area. There's also the critical problem at the Penny Savers entry there, the car park. They have a north car park where a lot of negotiation takes place between people wanting to leave the car park, finishing their shopping.
Yes.
And those who want to come in. So you get a bottleneck right there.
Although I believe that car park, that's only an enter, but I think people do exit.
Yes,
because if it is on that main stretch, so I think people also need to be aware that the car park, you enter from that end and you exit on the back side of it. So I think people also, if we follow what we are supposed to do, we can also assist as well. So continue, sir.
Yeah, and in addition, I think the proprietor made some provisions in his expansion work to provide car parking under the building, right?
Yes.
And I think to a certain extent that is not being utilized in optimally.
And that is very true.
Creating,
yes.
Prolonging the issue.
Yeah.
So those are the two basic problems in the area. So in terms of the solution, of course, we'll be doing the widening, which is the first phase of the project here. Mm-hmm. We'll be widening the road in the vicinity of from CPO Trace. You would start there.
Right.
Get to the maximum width around Sylvester Drive, and we would continue until about 50 meters or so after the gas station. Why Sylvester Drive? We have been monitoring the area from February of this year, and what we observed that during peak periods, the maximum queue length takes you just about Sylvester Drive. That's a distance about 90 meters from the gas station.
Right.
So that is the basis on which we kind of scope the project. Right. So that is the first solution, to widen.
And just remind me in terms, before you continue, Atiba, the widening, because for those of us who drive there and we're hearing widening, we may be thinking, how are they going to widen? Because you have the road, you have a sidewalk, and what you maybe people's property, or sometimes, they occupy a little more than they should. How is that process going to happen?
Right. So we did some surveys. We used cadastral information for the area.
Right.
Are we able to develop the cadastral superimposed with the topo of the area, which is basically the layout as it exists.
Right.
So we know where the road is, we know where your boundaries are.
Right.
And we're able to confirm that we had enough space to do the widening.
Excellent.
Now the widening is going to take place on the south border of the road, which is where Mukmins and those establishments are. And why, again, we don't foresee an issue with boundaries, because where we're widening is really the verge of the road.
Right.
Now, what people need to understand, the road is not, the actual road where we drive is not the boundary of the road. Road reserves have a verge where you normally put your utilities, like your light poles and your water lines. So that zone is where we're doing the widening.
Okay.
And from our estimation, how we designed it, we don't anticipate an encroachment on any of the properties.
Right.
And so I think I could confidently say that landowners should not be compromised worried or concerned about the project.
Right.
The impact of the project, that is, on their property boundaries. So that therefore answers your question regarding the land issues. So we have safeguarded that. So moving on, the other aspect of the solution that we're proposing is, of course, managing the traffic in that zone by putting up no parking signs to make sure that people don't park on the road.
Right. Because you do have businesses on that stretch as well. We've mentioned the larger ones, but you have a bar, you have even where you'd have mentioned, and sometimes people just figure, there's a car parts place. Some people just love to use the roadside to park. Yeah.
So we'll be putting up those signs, and we proposing to engage with the proprietor at Penny Savers, along with Tongue and Country, to see how we could solve that issue with the bottlenecking at Penny Savers, because that, as we have observed in the area, is a major. It's not throughout the day, but of course at certain times of the month, especially in the evening.
Right.
So we want to see how best we could optimize the situation there without compromising his business establishment.
And what kind of impact this will have on the local businesses in the area?
I believe it will improve the economic activity, because it means then that people could do business, more people could do business on a given day.
Right.
So I expect that there would be improvement in the business activity in the area. Residents, just the convenience of driving in that area would be improved.
Yeah.
It would be safer, because right now, I'm sure people are having close brushes with
because actually, and I'm glad you mentioned even the benefits for the commercial owners, because it's an area I often avoid consciously, because if I do my shopping at Penny Savers, and I remember, and of course, well, it is the back exit, but I would use the side road to come out on that main stretch, and I would remember, no, that gas station about now, that's going to be problems. And even if I want to go to the business place opposite the gas station, I'd be like, some other time, because I'm not going to fight up with the traffic there. So from at least as a motorist, this is very welcoming, and I'm sure many of you would appreciate that something like this is going to take place. And I just, once again, just for recap, I don't know if we have any images that are going to show the start and the end point where the widening will take place, so viewers could build a context. Not everybody may have a visual, because they may not be very familiar if they don't traverse there. And, as you mentioned, the onset of this project, the widening of the roads, any other solutions you all came up with in terms of, fixing, if I can say that, fixing that stretch?
I'm glad you asked that. Critical to the long-term success of this project is sort of reconfiguring the NP gas station there, because we recognize that most of the problematic maneuvers that people make are because of the configuration in the gas station itself. It's not ideal.
And it's
very cramped.
Yes, it's a really tight space.
So I know Kino could speak more on that, but we have plans in discussions with NP
Right.
to see how best we could reconfigure especially the gas pump. Sorry, not the gas pump, the diesel pump.
Right.
And move it and see how we could get our best flow. Because what we want is everybody to join one queue, one line, and enter the gas station and leave and merge back with the
main traffic.
With the main traffic.
Right.
So to do that, as the image kind of shows it, you would see we essentially kind of creating 3 lanes in that area.
Right.
Where you see the green cars, that is the queue going into the gas station.
Right.
And the big vehicles are what we consider to be the design vehicle, which is a standard PTSC coach bus.
Okay.
Right? So we envision that is a probable scenario that is extreme, meaning the size of the vehicles.
Yes.
So our design is tailored to cater to allowing vehicles of that size to pass comfortably.
Right.
Right? This image here kind of shows the problem that I was kind of describing earlier.
Right.
The smallest red circle there to your left is the conflict that is created as people try to maneuver away from the line.
Yes.
The next size circle, shows the maneuvers that people make in and out of the gas station that conflict with the traffic as they move.
Yes.
And the largest circle is the illegal maneuver that some of the diesel vehicles do. I'm sure you would see that.
To get to
and
the
they
pump.
get this. So it's important for us to, as part of this solution, to treat with or disallow illegal movements going forward.
Right.
And what we're proposing with the diesel vehicles is that they come through from all fields and come through Scipio Trace.
Right.
And then join the queue. But of course, all of this would have to be done as we engage with the stakeholders, the Truckers Association of Tobago, the PTSC people. And we want their feedback because ultimately we want buy-in from the public.
Of course.
In the initiative. So while we proceed with the construction and widening, eventually we will want to make a final decision on what movements we allow. And I mean, we have something proposed, but we see it as important that we get that feedback before we make the final decision.
And I guess that's why both of you are also here, because it's important that the public is aware of, projects like this. And I also want, I was talking about the layout, and as you widen, I know there is a sidewalk. So will that sidewalk be compromised or?
No, the sidewalk would be reconstructed.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So pedestrians can rest assured you are also being remembered and you will not be compromised. Your safety is quite important. And if I can bring in Kino briefly, let's talk about the timeline of this project. When it begins, when we hope it ends, what can we expect, from the motorists using there? Is there an alternate route when the project starts? So tell us a little about that.
Okay. So activity on site begins this week. We are already mobilizing. We started to clear areas to store our material.
Okay.
Right. So within the next few days, you will see increased activities at the location. Right, and we expect the project to be finished before the start of school. Okay. Right, so that's what we are working.
That is very important. Yes. I hope that deadline can be met.
Yes. Well, the only real risk that we have right now is the weather.
Yes.
The weather could throw us off, but we have our contingencies in place.
Right.
We may have to do some night work, or just to catch back the time if that happens. Right. In terms of alternate routes. Right, if you could bring up the image.
Right, so we have images of that as well, so you can walk us through it.
So basically, during construction, we will have to put in place a one-way system, one-way traffic system. So persons coming from the east that usually go by the roundabout and go up by the bank there and head into Carnbee, they are being asked to make their way down to Allfields North.
Right.
And then to Scipio Drive and Scipio Trace, and then come back to the Carnbee Road, right? And then they can access the gas station from Scipio Drive.
And is that the images we're seeing on the screen right now?
That's the image on the left. Right, the image on the right, that's more for persons coming from the west, from Boko and those areas. We're asking them to exit to the highway from Carnbee #1 down to Hamden Boulevard, right? And then exit to the highway, and then they could go continue east.
Right. And I'm sure there would be signs.
Yes, we will implement temporary signs during construction
Right.
and permanent signs after construction to manage the traffic flow in the area.
Right. And of course, viewers, not everybody may have the privilege of seeing this. So we're asking you to share the information, let them know that Atiba and Kino were on this morning sharing this. And let's be patient. Sometimes for progress, we have a little inconvenience to go through, but that's part of it. So even the residents, I am sure that you may be wondering, will my movements be restricted, etc. But what I do know about that area, it's not a one-way in, one-way out. You have a lot of side tributary streets, side roads that you would be able to avail. So go ahead, Kino.
So what we are asking, though, is that the public be aware of the alternate routes and try their best. We know that in some of the streets we have indiscriminate parking.
Right.
Right? That could restrict traffic flow. We're asking the public to please keep the roadway during construction clear, the alternate routes, so that persons could get to their destinations on time. Right. Even though the construction is taking place.
And I'm thinking of your larger vehicles, for example, PTSC bus, because that's a route. Yeah. Are they also going to be using this alternate route?
Well, not necessarily. What will happen is that during construction, we will have wardens by the one way, giving way to emergency vehicle and the larger vehicle.
Of course.
Right.
All right. And I don't know who would want to speak about maybe some of the technical aspects of this project in terms of, there may be, utility posts or just, relocation of some of the infrastructure that is already there.
Well, Atiba could get into the technical stuff, but a key part of this project is stakeholder engagement. And we took the time and effort to engage all utilities. We engaged the persons, the residents that will be directly impacted by the project, so that they won't be caught unawares, right? And even like in the case of Wassa, we will be doing a lot of road work, so the heavy equipment and the roller and the compactors will be operational. So the line may erupt.
Right.
It may erupt, right? But in the case that it does erupt, we are in constant communication with Wassa so that we could get a quick fix. Right. And the guys at Wassa said that they could do a repair within a day.
Yeah, of course they can. So, of course they can. I wouldn't say anymore. Of course they can.
Okay.
So it's good. It's good to know that all these conversations are taking place, because I know the goal is to have a positive outcome and of course a smooth flow.
Yes.
Right. So this image that you see in there is basically an illustration showing you what the widening would look like at the ground view.
Right.
So to your left, you would see the utility pole that we have.
Yes.
We have the sidewalk coming right. You see the sidewalk we established, and then the 3 lanes essentially would be existing at the major part of the project. So, and the size of those lanes would be 3.2 meters, and one which is essentially the entry lane for the gas station would be 2.5 meters roughly. All of that happening within the road reserve. I also want to say that we try to keep the scope of the project limited in terms of the widening that we would do. We kept it below the EMA requirements.
Right.
And we've maintained that so that the project could move forward as quickly as possible and all the while achieving the objective.
Right.
I think we were able to accomplish that. And one of our other concerns that we wanted to ensure that we didn't have was too much disruption.
Yes.
Because of course, it's a busy area. And we really wanted to contain the scope of the project.
Right.
So it's about 200 meters long, the scope of the work. And we achieve a maximum widening of about 1.7 meters from where it actually is right now.
Right. Okay.
So it's not much that hopefully, it's not much that would be impacted in terms of the changes that we are going to be making. And we hope to really get out of there as soon as possible so that business activity and traffic could run smoothly in the shortest possible time.
And as we look to wrap up, gentlemen, I just want our viewers to know how can they keep abreast of what's going on with this project, if there are additional changes, or just to be reminded of the alternate routes, where can they get additional information and updates as this project begins?
Okay. If it is the public has a concern that they would like to have addressed, they can reach out to the project management office in the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development. That number is 635-1506. For updates, the division's Facebook page will send out the regular updates.
Right.
It's a fluid project. We have to do on-site and on-site observations as we roll out, and we may make some alterations. And when we do make those, if we do make those alterations, we would put out notices on Facebook and through the mainstream media. Right? We'll give regular updates. If it is we have to close a street or restrict movements on a street, we would put out the requisite update and keep the public informed.
Right, so viewers, those of you, especially if you are living in that area, it's your responsibility to ensure that you look for the information. I know many times we accuse the government, THA, at whatever level, oh, we didn't know and they didn't tell us, and oftentimes some type of communication was released. So keep your ears on the ground, keep abreast of what's happening so that you can make the additional plans and not have your life really disrupted. And again, the project is supposed to begin from next week. Well, I guess mobilization has already begun, right? And we are keeping our fingers crossed and we are saying our prayers that it will finish with the targeted end date of the end of this month, right? August, so that school and the traffic that usually ensues with that period will not be, that interrupted or become too stressful for those of us who use that area. So I don't know if there's anything I may have left out that you may want our viewers to know, or we covered it all, gentlemen?
Well, I think we covered everything, but we'll just like the public to know that the expected outcome of this project, our objective is to improve traffic flow in the area, to enhance safety, and to improve the economic fortunes of the businesses and the proposed businesses that will come in the area.
And I saw one of our viewers commenting that just move the gas station, but you don't just want to interrupt business like that, that's not how they operate here, right? It may seem as though that's just the issue, but you have other businesses as well, and the traffic will continue. So this is good that engagement took place, and it's not a case of just getting rid of the gas station that may seem as the solution, but really dealing with the issue and improving the area for those who are using it and those who are living there. So gentlemen, thank you so much. All the best. I would hope that, everyone remains safe on this project and you are able to execute your objectives. So thank you for sharing with us this morning.
Thanks
Viewers, we go for a break, and of course we want you to be right here when we return.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise. The energy fill the sky.